Namaste, everyone. I hope that you all are doing well. I wanted to come to you and provide this week's teaching. So the most important thing about these teachings is to, number one, is to have the right understanding. Because if we misunderstand the teaching, then we won't be able to acquire the necessary experience to get wisdom from it. So understanding is very, very important. Then the next step is actually having an insight or realization. That is where you can see that teaching within yourself. You've been able to apply the teaching to yourself, and you can see the wisdom of it as it flowers in your consciousness. The last step is where you actually become the teaching. You start living the teaching. This is ultimately where we all have to go. At that point, the fundamental questions that we have about life, they tend to disappear. Why? Because you have become the teaching. You no longer need a teacher because you've become the teacher. So with that, we will go ahead and move into today's teaching. So we're going to be talking about consciousness. Everything that we do here is surrounding the topic of consciousness. So I thought that it would be necessary to define consciousness in this context, which it can be summed up as the energy level at which you are experiencing reality. The energy level at which you are experiencing reality. So, if we're trying to gauge our levels of consciousness, we can look at certain aspects of our lives, such as our relationships, such as health, and abundance. There are others, but these are some of the core areas that we can take a look into. So as we've been taught, to be authentic with ourselves is to tell the truth about ourselves to ourselves. When this happens, growth happens very naturally. When we are authentic with ourselves, there is an opening that can take place where we get aligned to our higher sacred self, or some may call that the divine or God or the universe. And it opens up an even more incredible opportunity to receive grace. So that if there are conditions that we have that may be holding us back, we have an opportunity to come out of it, to get liberated from it. That happens through grace. And we get aligned to grace by being truthful about our conditioning. Because your higher sacred self, or the divine or God, knows everything that there is to know about you. So there's no reason really to pull wool over the eyes of the universe or over the eyes of the great compassionate light, because it knows exactly what you are. And so because man and God are one end of the same reality, there is this game of cat and mouse. So what we have to do is be honest with ourselves about ourselves. There we get aligned with the source of grace that's there in the universe that helps us to live the life that we want to live and helps us to acquire the abundance, prosperity, and miracles that we would like to have as a part of our daily routine. This is an internal process that focuses on the individual, the internal world of the individual. What is happening external of you, that is of zero consequence to us here. How you choose to manage those things is totally up to you and what you find to be appropriate. But truly, if we look deep within ourselves, we can see that how we perceive things, how we experience things, is going to be based on how we're wired on the inside. So this is not about changing someone else. It's not about finding a way to address the world so that you can feel better. That's not what it's about. It's about addressing the conditionings, the concepts, the belief systems that are inside of you, which distort your very view and frame of life. So what impacts this level of consciousness? So when you are born, you're born totally free, totally liberated. You are able to experience things. You could be upset one minute and happy the next minute. There was no holding on to anything. But as time went on, we developed conditionings from school, from religion, from parents. We developed perceptions. We developed belief systems. And we developed concepts by which we use to live life. As a result, you start to identify with these perceptions, these conditionings, these concepts, and belief systems as a way to live life. So what ends up happening is that you relate to these conditionings, these perceptions, these belief systems and concepts, instead of relating to reality as it is. That is, we are dependent on these perceptions, conditionings, belief systems, frameworks, concepts in order to function from day to day. So the problem with this is that these conditionings, belief systems, frameworks, and concepts contribute to the illusion of life. So instead of relating to reality as it is, we're relating to reality as it should be, according to the concepts, belief systems, perceptions, and ideas. It is this very framework of perceptions, concepts, conditionings, and belief systems which make us feel separate from one another and separate from everything. This is why we have lost that sense of connectedness and joy. This is why we struggle to experience love in our relationships. So essentially, our ability to live is held hostage by the perceptions, conditionings, belief systems. So in essence, we have become dependent on these limitations to exist. And it is very important to note in this context that existing does not constitute living. So by committing to this process of internal discovery, or you may call it awakening, you are elevating yourself and elevating your consciousness such that you are no longer dependent on these frameworks in order to live. In fact, you discover what true living is all about. And that's to be able to flow with life without a framework. For example, if you are outside and you're looking at a tree, you don't need the mind or you don't need thoughts to tell you that, hey, I'm looking at a tree. It's an apple tree, or it's that type of tree. It's not necessary. You only need for your consciousness just to take the tree in and just see it for what it is. That's all. When the mind takes over, we say, oh, this tree, it needs to be cut down. I don't like the way it looks. Or if the hurricane comes, it may fall onto the house, this, that, and the other. We're not experiencing anything. So we have all of these frameworks which causes us, or again, speaking to the distortion of reality. So awakening is all about eliminating the distortion and being with reality as it is and not as it should be. For example, our dear friend Robert Palmer from West Palm Beach shared an experience in our Telegram group, and he said that after the one-day process that the world looked very different to him and that his relationship started to flower. So we can ask ourselves a question: what exactly happened to Robert? Did the world change? Did the people that Robert relates to every day, did they change? No, it's not like that at all. In fact, Robert himself has changed. A shift has taken place inside of him, whereby the very same things are present in his life, but the way that he is now experiencing it, which is from an elevated state of consciousness, that has fundamentally undergone a change. This process is not about changing others. It's about bringing attention to ourselves. It's about transforming ourselves. It is about individual transformation that leads to collective transformation. This is not about saving the world. This is about saving yourself. If you save yourself, then the world would be a much better place. So naturally, as you get set free, you are in turn setting an entire planet free. So the world need not take on your individual beliefs, perceptions, conditionings, concepts, or ideas to become a better place. As you change and grow, the world around you naturally changes. That's what this is all about. The focus is and always will be you. There are oftentimes participants will approach the teachers at the end of the program and say, my goodness, I know someone that these teachings are perfect for. Forgetting the fundamental core that they are the ones that are present at the time, and if they are the ones that are present for the course, they are the ones in that moment that actually need to hear it. So it's okay to share the teachings from the course, but it's really important to apply them to oneself. Not to sit in a course and think of who the teaching applies to. It is about applying the teachings to yourself, first and foremost. So this is the contemplation for the week. It is to become aware of where am I? What level of consciousness or what end of the spectrum of consciousness am I functioning from? Is it from lower consciousness or is it from higher consciousness? What is the energy level that I have to handle or to deal with my relationships? What is the energy level that I have to work with my coworkers this week when we're at a business meeting working on a project or whatever it may be? What is the energy level that you have when you're driving your car? Is where you have to go more important than other people? We have to be able to become very authentic with ourselves, and only then and only then will our levels of consciousness increase very naturally, because of aligning by way of the vehicle of authenticity to the great compassionate light, the divine, or whatever you may call it. So basically the question comes down to, am I existing or am I living? Am I disconnected or am I connected? So this week I want you all to be able to contemplate that, and I want you to get engaged in the Telegram group to share your experiences and also share questions. I thank Robert Palmer so much for sharing that experience, as I believe it would be very, very helpful for everyone. I look forward to exchanging messages with you. If there's anyone in our Telegram group that you've noticed that has not joined from our July 9th course, feel free to go ahead and add them into the group or to forward the email that was sent to you. So throughout the week, think about it, contemplate on it, meditate on it, and write about it, most importantly. And feel free to share with us any realizations or insights or understandings that you may have come across. Thank you so much, and I'll see you next week, or by the end of next week, with our next teaching. Namaste.